All right, so I'm gonna come over to you. How do you like this steady cam?
I love this steady cam, man.
So
what I appreciate about it is the fact that it puts less work on you, man.
well, maybe we're gonna put that to the test in a minute. Let me hand you this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna pull back. All right. So we're out and about. We're somewhere in New York. I don't even know exactly. Yonkers-ish.
This is Cross Bronx Mall, right?
Cross Bronx Mall? What's
Cross County Mall, yeah.
Cross County Mall.
Cross was in there somewhere.
All right, well, stay with me. Make sure you're in the line of frame here. So I got Charles Woods with me today.
Peace and blessings, everyone.
All right, it's a fairly wide lens. Hopefully I'm doing this right.
So you can't see you.
Yes, well, that's the one non-benefit to doing all this craziness. But we just come from this Shake Shack, little kids back there, and
Two Guys Eating. That's the name of this podcast. Two Guys Eating, Volume 4.
So I needed a mental health day. So of course I came up to see Charles, and we're just gonna walk off some of this
Can
food.
I say something right quick?
Yeah, sure.
We've been getting
Wait, hang on. I'll get it together. Wait, where are you? All
Can
right,
you see me?
you're there.
I just want to send some apologies out, Mike, because we've been getting some email from people asking us to check on different things. One lady in particular, she asked for a list on some films, and I just want to apologize. I just checked today, and I see that the email came around November 5th, and I haven't responded to it yet, but I don't want you to think I don't appreciate the mail and whatnot. I've just been so busy. Right now, in transition. And as I've been saying in some earlier podcasts, I've had to move, and it's been very stressful, but I will get back in touch with you. Also, a gentleman wanted us to look at a script. So we appreciate the mail, and I just love the respect you show Mike and myself, and we love you.
Okay. All right, so we ate a lot of calories. We're going to walk around the mall a little bit and just get caught up. There's a lot of things. Make sure you stay in the line of sight. I'm not used to this, but
And blue is?
well, where the lenses, figure you got,
okay.
you're in frame now,
Yeah.
but you know it may move around a little bit. So just try and stay close to me as we go through here. So suburbia, moving to the burbs. You're a city guy.
Right now, our location is this is Cross County Mall.
Out in Yonkers-ish.
Well,
So
yeah,
you're a city guy before. Now you're out in the burbs.
well, what this is it's sort of like what they call Bronxville.
Okay, so it's in between.
On the borderline between Bronx and Yonkers.
That means it's black folks. Well, Yonkers is full of black folks too. We might run into DMX while we're here.
We
Let's.
get a lot of people, especially on the weekend. They take the bus out here to. It's a nice mall.
Yeah, this is wow. Okay, it's
We just
opening
came
up.
From,
Wait, hang on. We gotta look at the scenery here. Look at
Shake
this.
Shack.
Look at all this behind us. All this contemporary shopping. They must think y'all got money out here. Okay, so all right, we're gonna walk around. So, what are the things we're going to talk about?
Well, you said money. We mentioned earlier. You got to have some bread now. If you know the way they're gentrifying everything, and they're moving old timers out of buildings they've been in for years. They're buying them out so that can co-op and condo everything. And if you don't have good credit, you don't have any money, you're out of luck.
All right, so we're in Yonkers at if you can't guess by the decor of Panera Bread, which is pretty standard stuff. Iced tea as always, and just catching up. A lot of people wanted to get our opinion on some things that have come out for the holiday season. So definitely, we both saw MUDBOUND, right?
Yeah.
And Roman J. Israel.
Yeah.
Esquire, and those are the two main things, and then maybe we'll talk about some other things that are happening as well. Before, and this is like, they don't send us money, but if somebody watching appreciates the plug, well, hold this, I'll share this. If you were watching my Instagram the other day, I was telling people about the Black Friday sale at Outta print clothing, and you weren't aware of this brand, were you?
No.
So Outta print, it's kind of a cool thing. I first discovered them at the Schomburg. They have like dozens of different designs. The clothing, t-shirts, tote bags, all inspired about reading and classic books. So what they do, they take the artwork from first editions or early prints of classic books and they turn them into t-shirts. So this is something I treated myself to.
I love it. I love it.
You know, Invisible Man, and they do Toni Morrison and Color Purple and all kinds of stuff, and even like Curious George and Wonder. You know, we just talked to the Wonder people. They have their Wonder T-shirt, and so I had these with me in case I wanted to wear them. But share them with you, Charles, and that's another classic, right?
Okay.
Clockwork Orange, you know. So
who was the star of that film?
Malcolm McDowell, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you'll see me wearing those things.
Maybe most people remember him from Caligula. Huh?
Now, see, you're hurting yourself there. I've never seen Caligula.
Okay.
You've probably
even
seen
Helen Mirren was hot, and she's still hot.
You've seen it a bunch of times, I'm sure. You probably have it memorized.
It sticks out in my mind. I'm in trouble now for sexual harassment.
Yeah, you and Al Franken. You know, it's got me scratching my heads. You know, and it's like, okay, whatever.
Right.
I don't see an end to it. But big ups to Toronto.
As we speak today, Al Franken will be leaving the Senate, and it's interesting. I mean, I don't mean to make light of this, but we have two Democrats who've had to leave their office as congresspeople. One named Weiner, another one named Franken.
Frankenweenie. Franken.
Interesting, right?
That was a classic. This is my video library days. I've never seen this one. There was a movie back, I guess, in 94, 95 called Frankenweenie.
Something like that.
Do you remember that? It was the guy, the Lorena Bobbitt guy, John Wayne Bobbitt was the star.
Yes.
And it was produced by Ron Jeremy. Frankenweenie. I don't think it ever made it to DVD. I wonder why. But now you're saying Franken and Weiner are in trouble. That was the whole.
Yeah, and the most prominent Republican, interestingly, his name was Packwood. So go figure.
Well, you're Woods too. Don't you get in trouble. We'll have somebody will be sitting there making fun of you. So, but I think things are changing. I think that's a good way to put. Like clearly, and you know, there's movies like 2017 has proven to be a big year of transition for a lot of things. That we were just talking about your move and just the way things are breaking down. And some days I wake up and it's terrifying what's happening. And it just seems like everybody is aware of it, but nobody seems to have the power to do anything. And then other days I have to be calm and say, well, this is just the beginning of this big crumbling of what the established norms are. We're breaking down, we're stripping away a lot of the things that have the power structures that are in place. And maybe there's some collateral damage that's a part of it, but hopefully, it's going to be a new day soon. I'm hoping. You've been around the sun a few more times than I have. What are your feelings?
Well, what comes to my mind is our audience has finally had the opportunity to meet my very, very close friend, whom I call my brother, Barry Douglas. And whenever we discuss the times, he always thinks of the fall of the Roman Empire and the parallels. And in many ways, society I know one of the viewers kind of wanted to take issue with me when I said, how things are getting worse. But I think there has been a great deal of moral decay, like we've never seen it before. I mean, just right quick, just to see a female governor in Alabama say, I believe the women who have accused Moore, who's running for Senate, but in the name of politics and the fierce tribalism that exists now, she said, I would still prefer Moore to a Democrat. That's insane.
Which leads to Mudbound, which, for those who aren't aware, it's Dee Rees's most recent feature film. It premiered at Sundance, which is where I saw it for the first time. I actually filmed there's a seminar about the music of Mudbound, which you'll find also on the channel. But it premiered on Netflix a few weeks ago, and we both had an opportunity to finally see it. I was after the screening, I was calling you about it. I said, I know you're going to have a lot to say about this, and so basically, it takes place before and after World War II, and how the lives of two separate families and the members of the families are transformed by different events that occur. It's told from the perspective of a white woman who marries into a family she believes has wealth, and then they move down south to live in a house, but they find out that the house has been stolen from them, so they're forced to live on sort of a rundown, dying plantation cotton farm, and where they are sort of hanging on to this last bastion of white male supremacy, would you say? And meanwhile, they're also a family of sharecroppers, and Mary J. Blige is the matriarch of the family, and then their son is sent off to war, similar to the younger brother of the white family. And when they come back, their experiences with the outside world transform them, but they come back to a place and a time that isn't quite ready for that acceptance. Is that a good synopsis?
Yeah, I think it's a great synopsis. And I have to apologize, a lot of what I'm getting to see, it isn't with the full attention I would like to bring to the experience because of the transition I'm in. But I was surprised that was Mary J. Blige. And both families, the white and the black, we're talking about Mississippi, we're talking about during the 40s, and we're talking about an era where it's very patriarchal. The black father running the household, he's in charge. He's a preacher on the side as well. And the woman you speak about in the white family who had to make such a big sacrifice, but it's like, as the male, so saith the male, this is how we're going to do it. And so that was an era. Dee Rees, the director, what I found about Mudbound was that it really made me, from a vicarious perspective, experience both lives. I mean, Dee Rees, the cinematography and everything, she's very methodical with her direction and whatnot. But man, I felt the pain and the claustrophobia of it all, and I found she did a great job so far as putting you in that element.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the IMDb. So Carey Mulligan is the young woman who marries into the Southern patriarchal family. And, I guess, they're, it's based on a best-selling novel adapted by Virgil Williams and then rewritten by Dee Rees. And, I think it's Oscar
caliber. In other words, Dee Rees.
Dee Rees, she first came to fame through Pariah, which was sort of a feature version of a short film she did at NYU. That's a very important film not just because it signals the arrival of Dee Rees, but more so it was the first feature film to be seen by cinematographer Bradford Young, who has gone on to amazing things. He's Oscar-nominated cinematographer for The Arrival. He shot 2 films with Ava DuVernay, and a lot of his aesthetic is built on the foundation of a lot of Howard University cinematographers, but he is at the forefront of cinematography, and even though he did not shoot Mudbound, a lot of his aesthetic is present in the film in the sense that you really need a flat screen, really good TV, and you got to watch with the lights off to really appreciate the cinematography in Mudbound, because a lot of it takes place in such a low light. It's very difficult to discern. Even the opening scene where they're digging this hole in the middle of the dark and the water's rushing in and everything, all is very visceral. But
well, it's a dark, somber film.
Yeah, and much like I would acquaint it, and I've not read the book, but like a Tennessee Williams kind of thing, but with some black folks in it.
Yeah.
Just the, you definitely feel for the characters in the sense that they feel they're trapped. They literally are mudbound.
If you didn't know who directed it, would you say this is a woman's touch?
Yeah, definitely woman's touch. But the problem, finish your critique now. I'll jump into, because I think it's a brilliant piece of work, but I do have some problems with it. And on a second viewing, maybe not so much, but with my first expectations, it really was troubling. But I think intentional from the author.
Well, I mean, Mudbound is very slow. It took a long time to get to where it eventually was going, and I found that disappointing with the film. It's a slow build up and the dots, and then finally you're able to connect the dots. But I found that troubling with the film. The other thing is the storyline. It's, for me, Mike, I don't mean to be Debbie Downer or anything like that, but I just feel, for me, it's a jaded perspective where we continuously get films where, in some way or other, the black characters, they form the consciousness for white folk. When we see how we're treated, and the binary is how the interconnectedness of whites with blacks, but how blacks are always treated in such a unjust way. I mean, the land, you work hard for the land, but it's not really your land. You're working for the man. Even the part where Mary J. Blige, with her husband, in a situation that befalls him, she's still called upon to be sort of a magic Negro.
Midwife, can you stop everything you're doing and help my wife give birth? Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, we still see this. This is an element they always want to seem to be fixated on and continuously popularized. And then, I mean, you could lead me into the other part of the film that I found very disappointing with Ronzel. What's the character's Ronzel? The son.
The son, yeah, played by
who played Eazy-E.
Jason Mitchell. Yeah, he's very good. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Then I think we're in accord. I mean, I saw it in Salt Lake City, Utah. Not many black folks in the crowd. My expectations, I didn't know what to expect, and my hope was that my expectations that Dee Rees, she blew me away in terms of, like, I think the movie, quite frankly, doesn't deserve somebody with the level of talent that Dee Rees brings to it. It really, to me, it does reinforce, like, this is a movie that is depicts black people's lives, but for white people to feel better coming out of, walking out of the theater, and it's a rough ride. At the end, you go through a lot of emotions, and we were all kind of shooken up. And one of the people I was with, we're all trying to process what we just experienced, and this white woman just walked up to her and wanted to hug her, and she's like, no, this is not meant for you to feel good. You have to suffer the way I did through this, So I think on that level, on a visceral level, the movie delivers, and I think that not having read the book, I know just doing the research, what Dee Rees brings to it is more balance in terms of depicting the black characters than the novel does. And I think that the casting and all this, it just brings a level of humanity to and balance to the characterizations that are great. What I liked about the movie specifically was something that we're always talking about, which is how the war transforms race relations in America. Before our men were sent overseas to experience other ways of life, I think we more or less accepted the oppression. But when you get a taste of another world, you come back with different thoughts and feelings. And I think that the experience of the black soldier, in terms of, even though, and Jason Mitchell has a great speech in there about how they were given separate latrines and all this stuff, but they didn't care if you went with the women, even if the women thought you had tails, that was the one thing where things were equal, So I think a movie that depicts that period of time from right before 1941 to, say, 1949, I think is something that we really haven't seen before in terms of black characterizations, at least not on a big scale. So I appreciate that, but yeah, it's another, I wish I had been taken more of the black character's plight more into consideration. But then I think it does a fair job in terms of the fact that the white woman is also victimized by this patriarchy. So on a second viewing, knowing what to expect, I can deal with it a little better. I think that I would recommend people see the movie just for the discussion and to appreciate the artistry, but I don't think it's a progressive film on any level.
No, when I was in Vietnam, and I took what we call R&R, rest and relaxation, in Thailand, Bangkok, and I had someone who expected to see a tale on black soldiers. And the only reason why I happened to be with this person is because they didn't think I was black. Okay? Mm-hmm. And that's how I found out what the trepidation was with blacks, because everywhere I went, I always had books with me. So I had these books on my bed, and this person saw the books, and, oh, number 10. I said, what do you mean number 10? That's number 1 like me. Like you? Yeah. And then in the conversation, this tale thing came up. I said, wow, Vietnam. I know my uncles used to talk about this nonsense, right? Mm-hmm. And so getting to the character in this film and the transition and the expectations that happened for a lot of our black soldiers who got the opportunity to experience, let's say, life differently from what it was here in America, which is supposed to be the home of the free, the land of the brave. Just a better treatment they experienced over in Germany. Mm-hmm. And then to come back, having fought for this country, and to come back and to be subjected to racism that they expected should be on the way out, because that was what the war was supposed to be all about. Mm-hmm. To fight against the oppressive conditions that were supposed to be the world we would live in if Germany won the war, if Hitlerism, Nazism took over. And you hear a lot of tragic stories where black soldiers came back, and they couldn't even sit in the cars that the German prisoners were sitting in, okay? Mm-hmm. And so to see this and to constantly be struck with this in cinema. It's just like I say, it's a story for me. I know very well. It's jaded for me. Mm-hmm. And then the whole thing is the white empathy. Mm-hmm. I think we would get a lot more respect if we had more motion pictures come out that showed us reacting differently to this hypocrisy that we face in America.
Without question. Well, in 2018, I'm looking forward to Wrinkle in Time and Black Panther. I hope that those movies have a better solution, at least allow more for imagination in terms of when I watch a film, delivering characters that I can project myself onto without having to walk out just completely abused. I would still take this over Detroit, though.
Yeah, because, you had the servicemen in Detroit, too, mm-hmm. And you had that incident in the film where the black soldier was not showing any respect, even though he showed his medals and what he earned over in fighting the war. But the thing is, even when you take a film like Glory, which showed blacks were begging to have the opportunity to go help fight for their freedom, we got to fight for something that all other men are just naturally endowed with, right? It's something we should be naturally. No one should have to give us something that all men should be born with. But we prove ourselves because no one's giving us anything. And the next film, there's a classic line from the next film we'll discuss. But the thing is, I just feel that filmmaking, as I told you before, the technology of filmmaking, as far as my perspective, my gaze, my spectatorship, is that everything we get for the most part in cinema is not to please us, it's to please mainstream audiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you understand how I felt. When you go to a place like Salt Lake, and every movie is gonna be like, we love this, and you're definitely the other. It stings a little more. And the last thing I'll ask you, we went in on Detroit mainly because it was a painful film, but I'm also aware of the authorship, and there was a lack of sensitivity, I think, in Bigelow's direction. I don't feel that Dee Reese has that, but and I feel like she probably did more than any other filmmaker would have to just create balance and humanize the black characters and make you understand their situation better than just that. But do you think, if you're aware of the author of Mudbound, do you think if it had been a white male or a white female director, would you have had a stronger reaction against it or for it?
Well, my feelings on that. I don't feel I know enough about any film to tell you what race the director is just from watching the film. Mm-hmm. Like some people say, I can listen to music and tell you who's playing the trombone or the saxophone. I think Dee Reese showed a sensitivity. It came through, but I still feel that our artists are stuck with the material that they're allowed to work with. Mm-hmm. Now, they can bring some nuances to it, some progressiveness to it, but overall, we're getting, as I said before, we're getting a product that has that's going to, in the long run, say something with the mainstream audience first, their sensitivity, their sensibilities, their feelings. They don't want to put films out there that are going to embarrass or be countercultural to the mainstream's taste, because it's still all about
the mainstream's taste and having a way to appease that. That's why most films you see that's supposed to be black themed, it's a binary. You don't just have the black character, you have to have that white character. And you have that in Mudbound.
Right. And, let's moving on to the other thing. Now, there is a commonality between Mudbound and the next film we're going to discuss, Roman J. Israel, Esquire. Not sure if you're aware, both were partly financed by Macro, which is Charles King's company. He, longtime African-American agent at William Morris. About 2 years ago, he found hedge fund money and began financing and producing independent films, primarily with black casts. So last year, he was at the Oscars with Fences, and now he's back this year. He's got Mudbound and also Roman J. Israel, which is another Denzel film. So, going in, I know we have differing opinions about this movie, but we both happen to see it. What were your thoughts?
I was very disappointed with Roman J. Israel. We watched Marshall, and we didn't post our review of Marshall because we were respectful of the people involved with it. We didn't want to say anything that was negative that may have
might adversely affect people's effort to go see it at the time.
And a lot of people need to know this about you. You're just not going to say anything on your channel if you feel it's going to hurt our artists. And I want to be perfectly clear that when I speak, I don't want to hurt our artists as well. I'm just trying to be honest in my opinion. And I'll say right here, right now, once again, I go to film and I'm looking to be entertained on one level, but then again, I don't want to be insulted. I felt that the trailer, as in Marshall, the trailer offers something that the film is not. And that was a spoiler for me. I was excited about Roman J. Israel based on that trailer. I said, oh, shucks, Denzel's going to play a part as a revolutionary lawyer that's going to kick justice or rewrite justice, turn it on its end. And that's what I was expecting. This film, I think there were too many narratives going on. I think it was more a vanity piece. And I think Denzel took over, and it became more about Denzel's character and nothing else. This film didn't do anything of what I expected it to be about. It was about someone, Asperger's, a savant, but the dynamic, knowledgeable, revolutionary-seeking, righting wrong individual. This film didn't deliver on that account.
Well, I can understand that. See, and coming out of it, I felt the exact opposite. I said, Marshall, I feel like it gave the whole movie away, and I was just waiting for the inevitable, which was the credits to roll. There were no surprises. Whereas this, I don't know, maybe I saw the trailer once prior to going in. I had no expectations. I knew it was Denzel. The poster doesn't give much away, and I just went in with fresh eyes, which is what I try to do. Sometimes it helps to know a little bit about what you're going to see, and sometimes it's better to go in with fresh eyes. And I went in with fresh eyes, and I thought it was magnificent. I bought into the fact that it was going to be a character study, and I appreciated the different layers and levels in terms of the fundamental story. Can this guy maintain his integrity? Has he lost touch with reality? And who's going to take the weight? So, for those who don't know, I don't want to give too much away, but basically he's like you said, a savant lawyer who's stuck in his own time, and he's a part of a two-man legal team. he's the brains, and the other guy is the guy that actually tries the cases. The guy, which we never see, and they've been doing the civil rights struggle for decades. And the guy has a tragic circumstance which causes Denzel to basically lose his job. He's no longer going to be there, and he's given an opportunity, almost like a Faustian deal, to work for Colin Farrell. And in his heart, he wants to see change, but either the times have passed him or it's too much for him to handle. People don't seem to believe in the same causes anymore, and he compromises his integrity in order to get a bigger piece of the pie, and then that's where the trailer kicks in. Things start falling like dominoes. But I just, I like the layering. I like the fact that it was, I would say, unapologetically black. This was a character that was specifically written for Denzel in mind, and I think that it was fun to watch him make choices. A lot of times Denzel will be playing roles that were written generically or maybe white actors past. This was, I thought it was great for him, and it had statements that spoke to me specifically in terms of, where I feel like the world is heading. And Carmen Ejogo was great. Nice scene with Esperanza Spalding. I thought all the actors were great. I just gave it the highest grade I could give it. No. Okay. All right. I just threw the pitch. All right. Prove me wrong.
I can't prove you wrong because you're entitled to your opinion.
Okay, but why did it affect you the complete opposite way?
This film is about Roman J. Israel. Eponymously, his name, as Dan Gilroy wrote it, and then he had the input. It was written, as you say, specifically for Denzel. Roman J. Israel. Does a J stand for Jesus? But what's interesting, you got Roman, Israel. The Romans controlled Israel, dominated them. You got Jesus in the middle. And the thing is, Denzel is a character. He's anachronistic. He's someone who, he was the Wizard of Oz. He was the guy behind the curtain making everyone look good, okay? And then when his mentor dies, they're saying, well, we got some severance for you. Roman J. Israel says, severance for me? I can take over. No, you can't take over. But I can, And then it said, well, he wants to prove that we need to have activism once again with this whole thing about the justice system. I expected a film about someone who's going to expose the justice system for what it is, okay? And I'm going to get anecdotally what's happening with this film. I think this film, if anything, it does nothing but show what a tremendous treasure we have in the artistry of Denzel. Denzel, as much as we've seen him, I mean, the way he had the gap in his tooth, I thought he was wearing a fat suit, but I heard he put on the weight a la Al Pacino and all the great actors, Dustin Hoffman. To me, I think he took it over to be about trying to win another Academy Award. But I think what Dan Gilroy had in mind for this film, I think somewhere it got lost and it got too much to be a heavy load for Denzel with this characterization that really he didn't do anything. We didn't see Denzel do anything of what he was supposed to have done as the wizard. There was one scene I said, I want to see more of this, where he's in the courtroom and he's arguing with the judge, and the judge said, one more word to you and I'm going to hold you in contempt. I want to see more of that. I expected to see with the group that Carmen Ejogo's character ran, that Denzel would come in to this group and fire up the young people who wanted to do something about the justice system. Instead, when he's trying to talk to the people, you see how he's out of place, where, the cynicism, where he's saying, why are you two ladies standing? And the women can't even see where he says it's not about being respectful where, okay, you want to say gender doesn't matter. It's about being polite. He's out of touch. And then there's a line where he says, you know what? I'm the wrong person. You're attacking. What happened? I'm tired of doing the impossible for the ungrateful. Okay? And not until they find a way of accepting him in the law firm held by Colin Farrell, that his genius is seen by all the other people who looked at him like, you know, with his antiquated suits and whatnot, like, this guy, he's fascinating. He became inspiring. The briefs that Roman had that he wanted to bring to redress the wrongs of so many of our people in the incarcerated, wrongly incarcerated, not being given the opportunity of having a fair trial, honest representation. And I know something about that, okay, from my own experience. We don't get that. It's not there. What do we have? Just Denzel being a great actor, but a film that doesn't show anything.
Well, yeah, but I think that's what's brilliant about it. It's about who's going to take the weight. I think everybody is frustrated by the justice system. Everybody is frustrated by the lack of progress, and we're, you know, this year alone we're losing people that fought the fight. You know, Baba Dick. So many people, you know, spent their entire lives fighting the fight, and here's a movie that matches the cynicism. He basically comes to a crossroads where he's like, look, I've spent my entire life believing in this, fighting for what's right. I want my piece of the pie. I want my donut with the bacon on it. I want to see what this is about. And maybe in that course of action, it might not be satisfying for the audience, but he becomes, and maybe he is a magical Negro, I mean, that's debatable, you know, he becomes a catalyst of change for the other characters, you know, so I thought it was great. And then, you know, just to see his transformation in terms of his compromises beyond what the wealth is and moving, and you see visually the gentrification there. There's a lot of things that are unsaid, the way he just decides to change his hair, you know, the way he buys his suit, you know, all these things that are indicators of sort of buying into the bourgeois, you know. I thought it was great, and it spoke specifically to, I think, a black character. This is unmistakably a black story. I appreciated it. You know, but I had no expectations going in. I think maybe that's the difference.
To thine own self be true. All right? Here's Denzel, someone who has all of these briefs, and he wants to redress the system, and you don't see that happen, okay? And the very thing he's upset about, he himself becomes the problem instead of the solution.
Right, he gets sucked into the cesspool. The wealth, the greed, the capitalism, it takes him over. He gives in.
Yeah, so the thing is, so what do we have with him giving in? We have more of what are going to be the consequences of him giving in than seeing the consequences of a black man who's sympathetic to the victims and being shown on screen someone who can be a dynamic solution.
Well, then you got the black version of Columbo or the black version of L.A. Law. You know, I think this is a standalone gem of a film. I think he's brilliant in it. I think the writing's good, and I think it attracts great characters. Now, one of the criticisms was that a lot of the white critics felt that it should have been a buddy picture, that Colin Farrell should have had a more elevated role in the film.
I'm going to tell you what happened with this film, okay? Once again, you're getting a film that's in its final iteration. What's interesting, we're talking about Jesus, and how many minutes did they lop off to make it different from when it premiered in Toronto? How many minutes?
Well, 12 minutes were cut and scenes were rearranged.
12 minutes. How many apostles were there?
Oh God! All right, we cut it out. He's starting.
But here's the point.
All right. No, all right. Keep up with the bullshit. Fine, go.
Okay. Yeah, but the thing is.
Yeah, I'll just let you have the mic while I drink this tea.
Okay.
Because all right, just pay attention to Charles. I like the movie, but go ahead.
The thing is this. In Marshall, we had Marshall, right? The way that was set up, once again, the binary, right? Who had to be the one up front to argue the case in court?
On Marshall? Oh, you had Josh Gad.
Who?
Josh Gad.
Josh Gad, the white man, right? So the thing is, here's another film in Roman J. Israel where we don't have this dynamic black man who's seen on screen exposing the system for what it is, and yet, spoiler alert, in the end, who's going to bring to the court an attempt to redress all the wrongs in this unjust justice system? Who's going to be the one to do that?
Well, look, we knew that going in.
Who's going to be the one?
A white man.
Okay.
We knew that going in.
Okay. But they say, well, maybe not just him alone, but Carmine Jogo and him working together, right? But
well,
Israel's not there.
He's a transformative character. I mean, that's a gimmick. We gotta get that magical Negro thing up soon. I mean, that's just a convention. I accept it, but just. I'll tell you what I also liked about it was, it reminded me of another movie similar, 187 with Sam Jackson. I don't know if you remember that one.
I remember it.
Did you feel strongly about that or no?
Yeah, I liked it. It was all right, but the thing is...
Well, this was a guy who was frustrated with the education system, and he puts himself out as a sacrificial lamb. So in the process of experiencing the drama of the film, you're exposed to ideas, and viscerally you come away with a certain feeling about things. So that was a tragic character, very disappointing to people that are used to American film, but I appreciate that film quite a bit. And the same way that I appreciate this film, it doesn't feel like an American film. What it reminded me of was like a film noir from the 40s, especially the way that they characterized Los Angeles. I don't know, I was telling you about a movie, Los Angeles Plays Itself, which is a visual essay about the history of Los Angeles told through cinema. And so many of the locations that they use that they depict in that documentary were in film noir. So this whole depiction of the dying off of these sort of like Skid Row areas of Los Angeles being gentrified, the fact that it's either accept the fact that you need to buy into this wealth system or die off. I thought that was a subtext to the whole thing, and the whole plot, the whole premise is classic film noir, and maybe that's one of my favorite genres. So I was already buying in on that level. So. I'm okay. And in Training Day, Denzel's most famous role, he's a villain, but spoiler alert, he's not a hero in that either, So I was completely cool with this. I really enjoyed this one.
What amazes me is how we have so many of our people saying we want to see black heroic characters on screen to counter all of the negative characters that we're inundated with in film after film after film after film, right? And now I'm hearing you say, okay, what I loved about this film is it showed a tragic character, it showed a flawed character. Denzel was fantastic, great actor. Yeah, so the thing is, what is it do we really want? What is it we really want? Fences, he was a flawed character. But, he got all the accolades. The film was up for Academy Award. What's the name? Got her Oscar. The thing is, but they keep giving us the same type of black characters, and we get souped up in the accolade part where, what you listen to anyone talk about this film, And if they weren't spoiled like I was from a trailer or expected more from the trailer part, the thing is, look at it again and I'll say, what did Denzel do in this film that other than show how if you don't stay true to who you are, you can be seduced by this money-grubbing society. And the thing is, if we lose people like who Denzel's character was, in essence, truly supposed to be about, if we lose these kind of people, then what kind of hope do we have? I guess that's what people are saying about, you look at what happened recently with John Conyers. If we thought we were going to get something from a person like Franken, if we're all flawed, yes, and that cinema should reflect the fact that we're not perfect characters, but the thing is, cinematically, we as a people, we want to see something different. I want to see some black people on that screen that are about showing solutions instead of showing they can't get anything done because they are problem people. You know, problem people that are confronted constantly with not being able to solve problems because they have their own problems. And right quick, I don't think Denzel's doing a service to our community, making simplistic sound bites where the conservative people are jumping on him saying that the criminal system is not really at fault. It's the fact that we don't have fathers in the home. Yeah, that sociologically speaking, that makes sense, but it's too simplistic. And if you don't go into the sociological aspects of what, did you grow up with a father in your home?
No, but I had a grandfather. Yeah.
Me either. Okay. What is the extended family all about? What's in our environment? There are a whole lot of things. You know, when they want to say a family's broken because the father's not in there, well, how about if you had a father that wasn't worth 2 cents that's in the home? You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful what you're saying, because the conservative community, they love for this kind of talk to be out there so they can jump on it and put it on there. Well, look what Denzel said. It feeds the fodder of them saying, yeah, the reason why blacks are committing so much crime is because they don't have any fathers in the home. You can't blame the criminal system like Michelle Alexander is doing. Come on, give me a break.
Okay, well, you know, so let's agree to disagree on that one. I think what I appreciate about this movie is that it is, in a way, passing the torch. It's making these social injustices not one person's problem, but everybody's problem. Anybody that is aware of things needs to do something to affect the change. And I think that in the process of dismantling the systems, which I hope this is, I mean, you know, I do feel that racism is a virus, and that this is going to be another level of things that we're going to have to overcome more so. But I do feel that it passes the torch of responsibility to others, and I think that's, if you appreciate the film, then you should take ownership of some of the issues that are brought to your attention in the course of the drama.
One question: in passing the torch in the film, did Carmine Jogo represent a group?
Yes.
Okay. Did we see the torch being passed to anyone in that group?
Well, she took on Roman's rhetoric in terms of indoctrinating other people.
Who did we see it in the end with his briefs? Anyone from that group?
Well, that's the tricknology.
Okay.
That's a whole different episode.
Okay.
There's definitely tricks being played in MUDBOUND. Lots of 3D in that.
Well, in MUDBOUND, right? What Ronzel suffers, right? Who rights the wrong of that? Mm-hmm. In MUDBOUND.
Well, spoiler alert, if you've got this far, that's the white woman who corrects things.
No.
No?
No.
Right.
The
white man.
The white brother.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Brother.
I'm sorry, the white woman announces the situation. But it is the guy. He gets the vindication. You're correct. And
also, spoiler alert, the same thing as I didn't go into the tricknology of the Magnificent Seven. In the end, it wasn't Denzel who killed the bad guy. It was who?
White guy?
No. White woman.
White woman. Oh, she's defending her land. Well, okay, so we got plenty to talk about. So, did you happen to see Thor or Justice League?
No.
You know, I think other movies, they're interesting movies. I'm not a big Justice League fan. I don't like DC anyway, but both are trying to save the world from all this contemporary fate that we're in, you know, with the greed, the 1% and all that stuff. Similar to Magnificent Seven. I mean, you know, 20 years from now, we'll be looking at these films and we'll see the pattern more clearly. But well, not to spoil it. We'll talk more about Thor. But the solution to Thor on a sociological level is very similar to the solution of Mudbound, which is sometimes when things are too oppressive, you just need to get out of Dodge. You know, like things, you know, like it's more of an egocentric solution as opposed to let's change the system kind of situation. But then you're talking about power and physical power in a superhero movie, you know. So it's interesting time that we live in. It's just a question I looked when I looked at all those films together. I noticed that pattern.
You know, my brain is not working as you're younger than I am. I'm going to have to start taking some of that stuff that's good for.
Well, no, I know.
You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
what's that term that came up? We discussed it some time ago, where they say anytime you make these films,
Not just in.
No. In terms of we got to worry about whites being upset, fragility, right?
The fragility.
White fragility.
Well, you know.
Huh?
Look, you know, we got this far with macro, so we got, you know, look, we got some movies with some good roles for a change. You know, not everybody's going on the soul plane, you know. So we got some Oscar contenders this year, two of them being Roman J. Israel and Mudbound.
You think he'll get an Oscar nomination?
Oh, Denzel? Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe even Colin. You know, and then the movie we didn't really discuss was Get Out, which is, if you want to talk about justice.
You know my feelings on Get Out.
Well, we'll go there. I mean, somebody said earlier when we were talking about Detroit, and Mudbound also, that movie was not a cheap movie. They'll spend tens of millions of dollars for a Detroit or a Mudbound. Try getting a movie like Get Out through. You got to do it for like nothing, $5 million, and then, you know, clearly it's made a lot of dough. So that's the justice. We need the same kind of money being spent on movies that aren't necessarily exist purely to validate the fragility, but also to empower the viewer and maybe go beyond just empathy, you know, in terms of.
You know what amazes me is, you know, a lot of people don't know how we, you know, you and I fight like Barry and I, we fight, and it only helps to sharpen my point of view to make sure I'm able to articulate what I feel and for it to come across. But I told you I feel that Get Out should be the best picture of the year. I haven't seen anything to top it as far as something that speaks on a sociological level about the interrelationship between the races, the binary, and what we're going through. And you remember you said, well, that kind of film.
Horror films, yeah.
You know, and I said, well, it doesn't have to be nominated for a horror film. Then you look at the way they're going through all these machinations, trying to decide what category to put this film in.
Well, for Golden Globes, I mean, I think there's a very good chance that we'll get a Best Picture nomination because now they nominate 10 films. But that also divides the pie up more in terms of votes. So, but it's got my vote because I got that book and I want it to increase in value. And then I'll have something that's worth more than.
You showed the book, huh?
I showed the book earlier. Charles saw the book.
I'm jealous. I saw it today. I am jealous. But if anyone deserves it, this man for what he's done with this channel and the respect he gives the artists and how he's dug me up.
Well, if I see one cheap, I'll get it for you because I know you appreciate those things. But I know you're also in the process of moving, and I don't think you need another book.
Can I say, you know, I'll find a way maybe to make a lot of what I have available to our viewers. In some way, we discussed it maybe for next year, but I just want to say thank you, brother. I love you, and I love all the respect that the viewers give me. I know that a lot of people don't agree. They say I'm whacked out, old fart needs to go somewhere, but for those who are respectful and for those who aren't respectful, I love you all.
Okay, well, we put in some work today. You know, if you talk for maybe 4 or 5 more minutes, we'd be a full hour, but you know, I guess Sanford & Son's going to be on. Sanford & Son's on all the time. So thank you. Oh, God. Now, all right, now, am I Lamont or you, Fred? I'm not Lamont. No, I'm not going there. But anyway, thanks for watching. And if you've seen these movies, leave your comments, leave your thoughts. These are just our opinions. And I do, on hopeful days, I feel like all this art that's coming out, all these things in the news, is an indication that the empire is crumbling. But then my cynical side also feels that the virus continues to get stronger and more resilient, and you know, that maybe white folks have figured out a way out through a vortex, and at some point they're just going to leave us all behind and take their wealth and go to another galaxy or something. So it's up to us to resolve this, and it's going to be all hands on deck. So please spread the love and speak up, and you know, don't zone out too much on Girls Trip and Soul Plane. Really try and fuel your mind with something, you know, because I think they want people not to pay attention. Well,
you know, when you sit in the movie theater and before the main feature comes on, you have the coming attractions. Mm-hmm. They're really coming distractions. This is all about distracting us, it's a way of taking our eye off the prize. But as far as Roman J. Israel's concerned, Denzel shows he is a treasure as an artist. There are many messages in that. We have to be true to ourselves. We can't get caught up in the trappings of this decaying society. And the only way we can extricate ourselves from the negativity, we have to be about each other. We have to love each other, and we have to find a way to be our own solution.
Spread love. It's the Brooklyn way. All right. Well, it's pretty close to an hour. Thanks for your time.
Peace and blessings.
All right. Say it again.
Peace and blessings.